Or do they say he has fabricated a lie about Allah? That the Prophet ﷺ has written the book, the Quran himself, and he has fabricated this lie about Allah? Do the Makkans, the polytheists, say that? If you had, O Prophet ﷺ, Allah would have sealed your heart if he willed. So Allah is saying by this argument that the Wahi, the Quran, descended on the heart of the Prophet ﷺ. So if you had been writing anything in the Quran other than what was revealed to you, then Allah would have sealed your heart and the Wahi would have stopped coming to you and nobody could have started it again. So Allah has said, but the Wahi is coming continuously. So that means that this wahi or the message that which is the Quran which is being recited to them is not of human manufacturing. It was divine by nature. And Allah wipes out falsehood and establishes the truth by His words. So the rational arguments of the Quran are saying that they destroy all the complaints and all the tricks and all the arguments which are being made against the Prophet ﷺ, and he's establishing the prophethood of the of Muhammad ﷺ as true, that he is the messenger of Allah, and whatever he says is the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He certainly knows best what is hidden in the heart. So Allah knows what you reveal and what you conceal. Tawheed-e-Rububiyyah, every verse of Quran will either directly talk about oneness of Allah, Tawheed, or it will imply oneness of Allah or Tawheed. The complete Quran in different ways is communicating only Tawheed again and again and again in all ways of communication possible. He is the one who accepts repentance from his servants and pardons their sins, and he knows whatever you do. He responds to those who believe and do good and increases their reward out of His grace. And for the disbelievers, they will suffer a severe punishment. Had Allah given abundant provisions to all His servants, they would have certainly transgressed throughout the land. So there's a reflection point here that having the abundant provisions is conducive to transgression. It's because Allah is saying that if He had given abundant provisions to all His servants, they would all have certainly transgressed throughout the land. So increase in provisions is conducive to transgression. So all of us who are listening to me, and me included, we all are people who have been blessed abundantly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So are we mindful that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us by giving us abundant blessings, then we have to be responsible and we have to be mindful that this is a test, and we have to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and distribute it amongst His creations as Allah has commanded and willed. So very, very mindful that we do not transgress and we do not fail this test, because every blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes with a responsibility and increases our accountability. But He sends down whatever He wills in perfect measure. He is truly all aware, all seeing of His servants. He is the one who sends down rain after people have given up hope, spreading out His mercy. So when the farmers see that there is a famine and no rain is coming, and they are hopeless and disappointed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has complete power, and then He sends the rain, and He is the guardian and praiseworthy, because the farmer had taken Him the guardian and prayed to Him, because neither Him nor any other power on this world has any qadar or any effect to bring about the rain. It is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is the guardian and protector, who can bring the rain. So we all have our wishes towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for solution of our problems we take Allah guardian. So Allah always brings hope. He always brings hope for humans, just like the farmer. He brings hope for every human, for Prophet ﷺ, and for all other believers who were going through severe persecution in Makkah, that any time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bring success and ease. And among His signs is the creation of the heavens and earth and all living beings He dispersed throughout both, and he is most capable of bringing all together whenever he wills. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the creation of heavens and the earth are signs of his might and his power. And all the creations which are there on the heavens and on the earth, the billions and billions of different types of creations, and Allah is capable of bringing them together. And he will bring them together on the day of resurrection. Whatever affliction befalls you is because of what your own hands have committed. And in spite of Allah's might and power and his magnificence, which is being told and you are seeing in the universal signs, if still you do not believe and you put yourself in trouble. For example, Allah tells you do not steal, but still you go and steal, then you are putting yourself in trouble by your own hands because you are not listening. So, because of what your own hands have committed, and he pardons much, and most of the mistakes we make unintentionally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardons them. But still the tests and punishments which come our way are because of our own foolishness. In spite of what he has told us and shown us, we are still not mindful. You can never escape him on earth, nor do have any protector or helper beside Allah. So none of the powers which exist on the surface of the earth can affect Allah's wish and will, can force Allah's wish, can manipulate Allah's wish and will. We are all extremely ajiz in front of him. We cannot escape him on this earth. Wherever we go, he encompasses everything. And among his signs are the ships like mountains sailing in the sea. If he wills, he can calm the winds, leaving the ships motionless in the water. Surely in this are signs for whoever is steadfast and grateful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has complete power of to bring the rain during the famine for the farmer, and to bring to stop the winds for the ships. How will they sail if there is no wind? Because we know that the ships used to sail with the help of the winds and the big sails which they were in the big ships, and if there was no wind, the ships would not sail. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it is me who is controlling the movement of these huge ships, and if I tell the wind to stop, how will these ships move? So in all these things there are signs for people who are patient and who are thankful. Or he can wreck the ships for what the people have committed, shirk. So after proclaiming the oneness of God, Tawheed, again and again and again in all these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when you go against Tawheed and oneness of Allah, if you do not focus your complete life on single point of oneness of Allah, if you do not profess it in every aspect of your life, if you do not establish Tawheed practically on the face of this earth, individually and in community basis, then this is such a big shirk that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can wreck the ships from what the people have committed, though he forgives much. So those who dispute about our signs may know that they have no refuge. They cannot run away. They cannot escape Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will not find anybody who can protect them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of the polytheists and the deniers, eventually they will have to come and answer for what they have chosen. Whatever pleasure you have been given is no more than a fleeting enjoyment of this worldly life. But what is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far better and more lasting for those who believe and put their trust in their Lord. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the characteristics, the character traits of those people who are going to establish the first Islamic state in Medina. They are who are going to establish the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala practically on the face of this earth. The Muhajireen, the Prophet ﷺ and the Muhajireen and the Ansar who are going to accompany them. What character traits they are required for establishment of Allah's deen? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, then they are the ones who have preferred the life of the akhirah over the life of this world. So they have prioritized the akhirah, they have focused the akhirah, and they have rejected this temporary, foolish world, and they have decided in fear of akhirah that we do not want this world, this temporary world, we want the akhirah. And in fact, they have done the right thing. The Islamic worldview, the difference between the Islamic worldview and the Western worldview is that the Western worldview focuses on this world and whatever it contains, because they have no concept of akhirah. So they have only one life. They know this is the life and after it nothing is coming. So what they want is success in this life. They want to achieve glory in this life. And what kind of glory? Somebody is after money, somebody is after fame, somebody is after influence, somebody is after popularity. So these are the peaks and the temptations of this world, and by hook and crook they want to get to the peak of all these temptations. Either they want to be like Elon Musk, the most rich man of the world, or like Trump, the most powerful man of the world, or like any of the beauties, the people are influencers who are affecting the lives and thoughts of people around the globe. So they want to be distinguished and at the top of their game in this world, because they have no concept of akhirah. So they use of every right and wrong mean, by hook and crook they want to get on the top. So for this purpose, the choices they make and the priorities they make, they have no ethical principles. They do not choose any ethics or principles to get on to the top of this world. They crush and they crush each others and destroy the rights of other people, and they do not believe in their duties and do not believe in the ethical principles by one way or the other, compromising all ethical and legal principles. They just want to get on the top. So their priorities are wrong, their choices are wrong, their means of getting to the top is wrong, and the top is also, all the temptations of this world are also fleeting and temporary, and they're just like a mirage and they will also disappear. So if you focus on this world and you have no concept of akhirah, then whatever you do to achieve this world will only are your desires which you are following. But the one who has focused on the akhirah, everything he does in his life, he would always be thinking whether it is right or wrong according to Sharia, whether I am pleasing Allah or not, in whatever decisions I am taking. Am I compromising any Sharia principles, or I am upholding these principles? He's all the time going to focus on this one, and he's going to live a very careful life, a life of taqwa, in which he is very conscious of Allah. So it's a God conscious life which a believer leads. So the Islamic concept of akhirah brings God consciousness in person, brings focus in a person's life. So my dears, a Muslim, a believer, a muttaqi always leads a God-centric life. The focus of our life, the focus of all our priorities, the focus of all our choices is always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do we focus on Him? How do we love Him? How do we follow Him? By obeying His commands. We do not love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like we love our parents or our siblings or our kids. No, that is a human relationship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a human. He is the creator and we are the created. So our love for Him is manifested by our obedience to Him. So what commands He has told us and what prohibitions He has told us, we have to lead a life realizing and recognizing those ahkamat, those commands and prohibitions, and that's how we obey Him, we submit to Him, and we love Him. So a Muslim leads a God-centric life. All the time we are thinking, what does He like, what He has prohibited, what He has commanded. Am I pleasing Allah by doing this, or I am not pleasing Allah by doing this? Whether this thing is right or whether this thing is wrong. So a believer all the time is doing a self-assessment on this criteria, set criteria, that whatever he is doing, is it God-centric or not? All his decisions, all his choices are God-centric. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that these are the people who are going to lead a God-centric life and target the akhirah eventually. In contrast to the people who are going to target the dunya and the success, the materialistic temporary successes of the dunya, because dunya and all it contains is temporary, it's a mirage, it's going to disappear. So either you are going to take credit or you're going to take cash, because cash comes immediately, the answers come immediately, the dunya you gets immediately, but the akhirah is on credit, but all Allah's promises will come true. So if you target the dunya, then you will try to attain the dunya, because you have no other target in life, because you are very narrow minded, very near sighted people. So you want to attain the success in dunya by hook and crook. You just want to attain it. Then you don't care what are the ethics are, what the principles are, what are the criterias of right and wrong. All your choices and all your priorities, they are all wrong. They are all materialistic. They are extremely selfish and self-centered rather than God-centered. So as a result, you break all ethical principles, all principles of the society and government and whatever rule is there. And you just try to achieve success. Success in what? To become the most a good and top most influencer, or most powerful, or most beautiful, most famous, most rich. So you sacrifice and compromise all the principles, and you try to attain those successes. However, a person who is God-centric and looking at targeting at akhirah, he is all the time he's going through self-assessment. He's calculating all the time. Am I pleasing Allah? Am I doing something right or wrong? He's always very careful. So he leads a God-centric, like an ethical, moral life. Because he does not want dunya. If the dunya is not coming, if he is prioritizing the moral principles, ethical principles, the principles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Sharia, if he is prioritizing them, that is, there is a major chance that he is not going to be extremely rich, extremely famous, extremely powerful. There is a major chance you won't. Because there are physical laws operating in this universe. These physical laws, if you give somebody money, you will purchase whatever you are looking for. From where that money is coming from, nobody cares. So if you fall down, these are the physical laws, the cause-effect relationship. If a cause is there, the effect will be there. If you fall down, you will get injured. Cause is that you fell down, and the effect is that you got injured. So the cause-effect relationship of this world, it helps those who try to achieve success by hook and crook. If you are pleasing somebody, if like the people who are to your bosses or your parents or your teachers, there's a major chance that they are going to be partial to you. They are also humans. So there, the cause-effect relationship is there. But when you are basing all your life decisions on Sharia and on the moral principles, there's a major chance that you will not be able to achieve the topmost. Though we know that there are many people who have achieved everything, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he blesses you, he doesn't care whether the cause-effect relationship is there or not. He breaks it and shows his might and shows that he is Allah. So the first characteristic of these persons is that they prioritize the akhirah and they leave behind the dunya. But what is with Allah is far better and more lasting for those who believe and put their trust in their Lord, the akhirah, who avoid major sins. They lead a life of taqwa. What is taqwa? Taqwa is God consciousness. When you develop a relationship of Allah and you have made it stronger and stronger, you have a heightened awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time watching you. As a result, you are never scared of anything because you know Allah is there. When Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq and Hazrat Prophet Muhammad ﷺ were hiding in the cave of Saur when they were migrating from Makkah to Medina, the polytheists has come to the mouth of the cave. They had come to assassinate them. And Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu was very scared. And when he looked at the Prophet, he was in prayer and prostration. And he said, what are we going to do? And Prophet ﷺ said, don't worry, Allah is with us. There's a heightened awareness. When the most powerful and the mightiest is with you, then why would you fear? So who avoid major sins and shameful deeds, lead a ethical life and forgive when angered. And these are the people who are forgiving because they do everything for Allah. When there is no relationship between two people, two men, you are doing everything for Allah, then why would you get angry? Somebody has done wrong with you or hit you or be rude with you, why would you be angry? Whatever you do in return, you do it for Allah, so you do the right thing. Who respond to their Lord, establish prayer. So establishing prayer is extremely important when you want to establish the deen of Allah on this earth. Establishing the deen of Allah on this earth means practically implementing Tawheed, and that is by obeying the commands of Allah in every sphere of your life, in every choice you make with every breath. And why is it important to establish prayer? Again, I am stressing the importance of spirituality, developing a relationship with Allah, because these things are very, very difficult. Extremely difficult. The Prophet ﷺ not only has to face the opposition of the polytheists of Arabia, but also the people of the book, as Allah has already mentioned before, that all these peoples have wrong priorities. They are prejudiced and they are biased and they are stubborn and they are arrogant. So they are not, the establishment of deen is going to be very, very difficult for you. To establishment the hakmiyat, the rulership of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth, that we are not the rulers, Allah is the ruler, and only He has the authority to give the laws by which we are going to lead the life. In all our conflicts, the justice will be done according to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to establish prayer to develop that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He gives us strength to face such severe opposition with complete faith and trust in Allah, who conduct their affairs by consultation. These are the people who always make consultation with other people on the collective basis, because we have to establish the deen of Allah individually and collectively. So when you are doing collectively, you have to listen to others. In the Ghazwa Uhud, we know that in Ghazwa Uhud things got wrong and tables were turned and Muslims had a very severe, terrible experience. 70 of the Muslims were martyred. So what happened, that was because of the consultation. The decision the Prophet ﷺ was taken was opposed by the majority of the people, and the Prophet ﷺ went with them. But later, when everything was turned wrong and everybody was ashamed that we didn't listen to the Prophet ﷺ, they came and Allah commanded the Prophet ﷺ to forgive them and keep them in His consultation. It is very important to keep everybody together. It's like a teamwork. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is professing and proclaiming, and He is supporting the teamwork. In Jang-e-Badr as well, we say that when Prophet ﷺ has said that we lay down camps at one place in Badr, there were people who came and they said, if this is the decision of Allah, then it's okay. But if this is your own decision, that we want to give you an advice, it's better to move on that side. So they took their camps off and they changed, because that was the decision of the majority. And Prophet ﷺ always consulted other people and they listened to, although he was the Prophet. But he used to listen to other people. This was the command of Allah, as we can read here. And spend out of what we have bestowed upon them. Charity, zakat, khairat, sadaqah. And who enforces justice when wronged? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that these are the people who are going to enforce justice when they have been wronged. And these ayahs are a little different from the ayahs which were in the last surah which has just passed, the last surah which has preceded this surah, because we know that the general attitude of the Prophet ﷺ in the Meccan era was that you are not going to retaliate. Whatever the polytheists are doing to you, you have to show patience and endurance. You are not going to retaliate. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although it's a Makki surah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving command that those who enforce justice when wronged, so the permission of retaliation is coming. So we can see by the topic over here that the time is about to change. So these verses are coming just before the Prophet ﷺ has left Makkah and left Makkah for Medina and the establishment of the first Islamic state where he was the ruler. He was the head of the state. So once the time has changed, the circumstances has changed, the ground realities have changed, and all of a sudden Prophet ﷺ is the topmost authority in the state. The rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are also changing. So now in Medina they are allowed that when you are wronged, the ones who enforce justice when wrong. When you are wronged, you have to enforce justice. You are not going to sit idle and let them do, the polytheists do, the deniers do whatever they feel like doing. No, now you have to stop them, because you have to safeguard the first state which has been established in the name of Allah. When Aqamat-e-Deen has been done in a state, then it has to be protected. So you are not going to be wronged, you are going to retaliate by force. The reward of an evil deed is its equivalent, but whoever pardons and seeks reconciliation, then their reward is with Allah. He certainly does not like the wrongdoer. So a person who has been wronged, a Mazloom person, all Allah's laws are always with him. But if he sees that by reconciliation or by showing mercy, there is a chance that the opposite party will come to the right side, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then if he does that, then that is a better thing to do. However, the right of retaliation lies with the person who has been wronged, and Allah does not like the wrongdoers. There is no blame on those who enforce justice after being wronged, because Allah is completely with the people who have been wronged. Like the Muslims and Muhajirin and the Prophet ﷺ, who they were wronged. They had been driven out of their homes and their town and their country where they lived and they were born, and all their commercial activities and their houses and their families, they were all there. And they were driven out because of the oppression, tyranny and persecution of the Mushrikeen in Makkah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extremely angry about it, and He says that now you have the right to retaliate. Blame is only on those who wrong people and transgress in the land unjustly. It is they who will suffer a painful punishment. So you are the people who have been wronged, you are Mazloom. The blame lies on those people who have rejected the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have rejected the haqq, who are the deniers of the hereafter. Although they know that these are many of them, the chiefs know that what Prophet ﷺ is saying is the correct thing. That is haqq. Still, out of their arrogance and their personal gains, they are going against it. And those are the people who are wrong and they are transgressing in land. And whoever endures patiently and forgives, surely this is a resolve to aspire to. So Allah is recommending and highly praising those people who have been wronged and still they show mercy. And they are patient and they are ready to forgive. Only that the opposite party comes to the right side. So Allah says this is an extreme deed, good deed, an extremely good deed, that they are still forgiving just because they want other people to come to the right side. So my dears, showing patience is a very difficult job. This is showing patience, that in spite of being wronged, you're ready to forgive only for Allah. This is showing patience with what bad has happened with you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to Bayanul Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that patience, sabr, cannot be done unless you have a spiritual relationship with Allah. Sabr is an extremely difficult thing. Ask those who have gone through this phase. And everybody goes through this phase. It's an extremely difficult thing. Sabr is not that once you have wailed and complained and used whatever you could to take revenge and you couldn't, then you say, I will do sabr. No, this is not sabr. Sabr is that which is done on the first instance. First instance, some calamity has fallen you and you are flabbergasted and you say, Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. Whatever shape Allah gives me, I'll praise Him and thank Him. So you do sabr. And Bayanul Quran says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when a calamity hits you, you seek refuge in prayer and sabr, patience. How do you seek refuge in patience if you do not have a spiritual relationship with Allah? Only Allah can give you the support to do sabr. Humans, it's impossible to do sabr. It's so difficult. So how do you develop a spiritual relationship with Allah? Prayer, namaz, salah, zikr. You remember Allah, Allah remembers you. Prophet ﷺ says, one of his hadiths, I am paraphrasing, that when you call me, I am with you. Just imagine if you are doing zikr all the time, let's say 100 times or 1000 times you have done zikr in the day. So you have moved towards Him by 1000 steps. Imagine at what pace He is moving towards you. When He says, you remember me, I remember you. When you remember me, I am with you. You move one pace towards me, I move 10 paces towards you. Then imagine if 1000 times you have done zikr and remembered Him. At what speed He is moving towards you. Then finally we have already studied that in addition to salah and zikr, the recitation of the Quran is also a means of develop relationship with Allah. We have already gone through this in Surah Isra and Surah Kahf, and now in Surah Shura. And whoever Allah leaves to stray will have no guide after him. You will see the wrongdoers when they face the torment pleading, is there any way back to the world? Is there any way we can go back to the world of test? Can we take the test paper again? Because they are going to be in a terrible shape, and they are going to be eternally in that terrible shape. So when they will be fed up and they will be exhausted, and they would come to their wits end, they would say, just kill us to the heads of Jahannam, the big the angels of there are 19 angels who are the heads and chiefs of Jahannam. They will call them and they say, just kill us, we want death, we cannot endure it. And they will say, no, you are living here eternally. And you will see them exposed to the fire, fully humbled out of disgrace, stealing glances at it. And the believers will say, the true losers are those who have lost themselves and their families on Judgment Day. The wrongdoers will certainly be in everlasting torment. They will have no protectors to help them against Allah. And whoever Allah leaves to stray, for them there is no way. Respond to your Lord before the coming of a day from Allah that cannot be averted. There will be no refuge for you then, nor grounds for denial of sins. Because everything will be open in the book of deeds. How can you deny something? When everything has been written down and the video evidence is there, and even your own hands and feet are evidence against you. But if they turn away, we have not sent you, O Prophet ﷺ, as a keeper over them. Your duty is only to deliver the message, and indeed when we let someone taste a mercy from us, they become prideful because of it. But then when afflicted with evil because of what their hands have done, then one becomes totally ungrateful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Prophet ﷺ that if the deniers are not listening to you in spite of everything you are doing and I am doing, then you are not responsible for them. You have done your duty, that's it, khalas. Now they are going to bear their own punishment. When Allah has given, He says that we give someone taste of mercy from us. What is mercy? The Quran is mercy. All the wealth and blessings which Allah has given us, those are mercies. So they become prideful because of it. They say that we are special, that's why Allah has given us. But when they are afflicted with evil because of what their hands have done, they become stubborn and arrogant and they start doing wrong by Allah. When they start doing wrong by Allah, then they are afflicted with harm and evil. So if you just imagine that if you go against the commandments of Allah and you steal, then you will be harmed. The hand of that person who has stolen according to Sharia will be cut. When the hands will be cut, this is because you have done wrong to yourself. Only laws of Allah will be established in this world. So this wrong is not coming from this evil is not coming from Allah. You have yourself wronged yourself. You have not listened to the haqq. Instead of becoming grateful and thankful, you became arrogant and prideful. And you went against the commandments of Allah, and then you faced what was due to you. So it's not Allah, it's you who has done wrong to yourself. To Allah alone belongs the kingdom of the heavens and the earth. He creates whatever He wills. He blesses whoever He wills with daughters and blesses whoever He wills with sons. Or grant both daughters and sons to whoever He wills and leaves whoever He wills infertile. He is indeed all-knowing, most capable. So this is your Allah. Know your Allah, that He is all-knowing and absolutely capable of doing whatever He wishes. And He knows who He has to give sons and He knows who has to give daughters and to whom He has to give both. And then there are those He gives nothing. So He knows what is good for you. So you have to be grateful under all circumstances. May Allah have mercy on all of us. It is not possible for a human being to have Allah communicate with them except through inspiration or from behind a veil or by sending a messenger angel to reveal whatever He wills by His permission. He is surely most high, all wise. He is the mightiest, the highest, the ruler, the Ilah. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling about different ways and means by which He used to send revelation to the Prophet ﷺ. Remember the first ayahs, first, second, third ayah of Surah Shura. In that ayah, the surah had started that we are sending revelation to Allah, to the Prophet ﷺ. And then that subject was not talked about unless to the very end of the surah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again talks about that topic. So it's the element of intrigue which Allah has maintained in this surah. So these are different ways of communications of Arabic language, in which the Allah has started a topic in the beginning and the answer is not there for the next 50 ayahs, and then all of a sudden the answer is coming. So different ways in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the Prophet ﷺ is by the way of the messenger, Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam, whose duty is to bring revelations to the prophets. And then from behind the veil, that we know that at Isra and Miraj, the Prophet ﷺ went up on the top sky to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from behind the veil of Noor light, he talked to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends His revelations to the Prophet ﷺ by way of inspiration. So the Prophet ﷺ says, according to many traditions, that he used to hear bells in his dongs and bells in his ears when the revelations were coming, and it was very, very difficult for him. So Hazrat Aisha and other Hazrat Ans and many servants and the people who were around, and they used to relate that when the revelation used to come like that, the Prophet ﷺ went into a kind of trance. He would bow his head, and he would just disconnect from the world around him. And there was a lot of perspiration on his face, even if it was winters. There was sweat on his face, and the expression of anxiousness would come. And once Hazrat Zaid bin Sabit was sitting, and the leg of Prophet ﷺ was on his leg, and the revelation like this started coming, and Zaid bin Sabit said that I felt that the weight of his leg on my leg has increased so much that my femur is going to break. So it was a very difficult task for him to hear the revelation. The revelation used to be very strong and very heavy. And so we have sent to you, a prophet, a revelation by our command. You do not know of this book and faith before, but we have made it a light by which we guide whoever we wills of our servants, and you are truly leading all to the straight path. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, O Prophet ﷺ, that I have sent this Quran to you. You did not know what Sharia was and what faith was and what Iman was, or the people of the book. But we have made it a light, the Quran, I have made it a light, a noor for you, by which we guide whoever we wills of our servants. And you are truly leading all to the straight path. So Bhayanul Quran says that in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Quran is the noor which came on the heart of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in Surah Noor, we have not done Surah Noor as yet, inshallah, when we'll do it. There is an ayah which says Noor ala Noor. And this is one of the verses of Mutashabihat, and the scholars have gone crazy trying to explain these verses, and nobody has. Still, they say that we have not done justice with this verse of the Quran. And Bayanul Quran says in its tafsir that the Noor ala Noor is the condition of the heart of the Prophet. When the Prophet ﷺ was born, he came with a lot of Iman, a dormant form, a lot of Iman in dormant form in his heart. We know that in the worlds of Arwa, in the worlds of spirit and Ruh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took a covenant from all the from all the spirits, the Ruhs, the souls. Am I not your Lord? And all the souls, because they could see the truth at that time, they said, yes, you are our Lord. So the imprint of Allah's Lordship, Rabb, Rububiyah, Hakmiyat, it is imprinted on the souls. Every soul which is born, they have come with the covenant which is imprinted on your soul. And that Noor which comes with that covenant, that Haq, the Noor, the truth, the reality, which is already there in our souls. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Bayanul Quran says that it was present, and the Iman, the truth, and the realization of truth was present to the level of excellence already in a dormant form in the heart of the Prophet ﷺ. And when it connected with the Noor of revelation, Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down, then when they connected the relationship which was formed, was like Noor ala Noor, light over light, and he became a light tower for all the human beings till the day of eternity, day of resurrection, for everyone, and a tower of guidance, a tower of light. You see the lighthouses, the light towers in the middle of the seas at night when everything is dark. And just imagine when the oceans and rivers and seas are dark, how dark they are, because there's no light there. And then in the center of it, there's a light tower, which is showing direction and guidance to everyone. The ships which are coming, come towards me, and this is the harbor where you anchor. So it's an amazing, amazing way of the Quran in Arabic language of describing the hearts of the believers. Noor ala Noor. We know that the diet of your body is food, and the diet of your brain is good literature, good information. And what is the diet of your soul? Because human being is a combination of body and soul. The diet of your soul is Quran, the zikr, connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do not connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you do not connect with Quran, your soul is suffering. And there are depressions and anxieties and panic attacks. And you are going crazy looking for things which can give you peace, drugs and alcohol and music and tattooing, cult cultures, punks and whatnot, goths and punks and all kinds of creeds, shameful creeds which are there out there. Because the soul is suffering, it's looking for its food, its connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why are we so happy when Ramadan starts? Every house, every child, every individual is so happy. Because now the month has come when we are going to do what we were supposed to do when we were born. Quran says humans and jinns have been created for worshipping Allah. So this is the month when we prioritize to worship Allah. And that's why our souls are happy. And we are so happy. Every house is happy. As if when Ramadan has started, like its festive time has started from the very first day. When we are fasting all day and we can't eat, we are still so happy. It's coming from inside our souls. It's connecting. It's so happy. The path of Allah, to whom belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Surely to Allah all matters will return for judgment. And the surah ends establishing the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.